We never come forward and say we don't need capital.
No cap. To be capped up.
10 o'clock on the gram, no you should check me. Here for an hour, I promise this talk is heavy. I'm cooking, just getting started, don't go asking if it's ready. I'll be damned like we bout to break a levee. I sweat all of this content, push my conscience to a beautiful dark, twisted fantasy. I'm a monster, my posture looking like we was winning Oscars. Far from an act, but still acting like we got sponsors. Define us by the work we do, you know the work of few. Willing to get down in the trenches for the perfect view. So if you at me, then be sure to mention purpose too. And alignment, we own it, far from consignment. I seen the light, it was blind to contribute this all the timing. Let it breathe till you find it. Get fresh, then set the table for guests. I told you that we was cooking, this compliments to the chef. Let's go.
We never come forward and say we don't need.
Good morning, creative family. You know, guys, here for another episode of Cook in the Late Night. I'm your host, Cook, and let me tell you, I miss y'all, YouTube. I know we took a break last week, you know, closing it out strong, but you know what? We back and better than ever. So I'm excited to have you guys here with us today. We have a very special guest with us. You know, Miss B on top of self is coming through. So you know we're gonna have a great time. But as always, we gotta bring you some more in terms of the creative community and some good opportunities out there. So we're gonna tap into Young Shan's better video. Here's a sneak peek of what's coming later on.
Don't know where we going. I hope it's not too late for you to search. Life would be much better if you loved me the way I loved you. Life would be much better if you fucked me the way I fucked you. Life would be much better if I can call on you. Life would be much better if I ain't fall for you. I should've known better, but that don't make it better, babe. I should've known better, but that don't make it better, babe. I should've known better, but that don't make it better.
Look, that is one of the most talented artists I know coming up right now, so I can't wait to check out this video. But y'all probably see there's been a whole shift change on this side of the room. Please, we'd love to welcome Miss Brittany. Just please introduce yourself.
Hello, Brittany Johnson here, Brittany Alexandra, as well as what I go by at b.1.top on Instagram. Happy to be here with you tonight, Marcus. This is dope.
You know what? Thank you. I'm glad to have you here. And when I tell you, like, I feel like she can run this whole show by herself. Like, she can interview.
That's a fact.
She can do this all. Like, this ain't even Cooking a Late Night tonight. This is just gonna be the B show, and I'm gonna just be here. You know, that's kind of what's gonna be happening.
You're hilarious. But all respect to you. I give flowers while people are here, and what you are doing is not unnoticed. And keep going, bro. That's all I can really say. You know,
I appreciate that. That means a lot coming from you. And you know what? We're gonna start with your journey, because you had like a real good journey. You know, aside from like, you know, holding it down. We can talk about the concerts. We can talk about Broccoli City. We're going to get there. But let's talk, like, how did you get started in just this field in communications? Like, was that something that in college you were interested in?
I mean, it was actually something that happened before college. I was literally born to, you know, be a talent, to be on that main stage. I actually told my parents that I wanted to be a singer when I grew up, and my parents are in medicine, and they're like, that is not stable enough, so let's get back to the drawing board.
Now, I wonder if I could share with the world. Like, I just want to know, like, because this looks like there's
cute.
a star in this photo. Like,
at
clearly,
you.
know, I do a little bit of research every once in a while. I do my Googles, you know, but I mean.
So
like,
as you can see in that photo, I mean, a star was born the day I came out the womb.
That was you on the lean, right? Like,
that was me with the lean, with it, rock with it back in the 90s.
Hey, we see the belt buckle on the front. Like you had the Gucci buckle in the front.
Running the town with my sister, showing her the exact moves.
Nah,
okay?
we love that. And you had personality from a kid. So, okay, talk about embracing that and convincing your parents, because that's big for creatives.
That's actually very deep. Let's talk about that really quick. So I'm the oldest of four. As you can imagine, for those who are out there, the oldest, like, you're really paving the way for your siblings. And that can be tough when you're trying to be in an industry that is so non-traditional, for sure. And so growing up, it was tough at times. Like, it was tough being the unicorn or the black sheep and being so different and great in music and great in English, but horrible in math and horrible in science. And also convincing your parents of wanting to get into this industry that they knew nothing about. Now, Luckily, I have a family member out there that goes by the name of Amari Hardwick that kind of paved the way for me more because he's in acting. So that kind of opened their eyes up to the entertainment industry as a whole. But still, like, my parents didn't care. You know, they cared about me and my grades and how I was going to, you know, do what I do. And so growing up, I was very involved in singing, very involved in instruments. As you talk about music, I mean, that's right up my alley for sure. And then my aunt took me to her job at WJLA Channel 7 back in the day. She did HR there in this area. And I went there because I did not want to go to the hospital for Take Your Daughter to Work Day. I was like, I'm not going.
How you bail as a daughter? I mean, I'm with you.
I was like, Ma, I love you, but I don't love blood. So
right, like,
we're going to
that don't
go
even
somewhere
mix.
else. I don't want to see any of that crazy stuff. So I went to visit my aunt. I was around 6th grade probably at the time. And they allowed me to get up on the set, the news anchor desk, and do like a little mock thing. And I mean, the cameras, my eyes, and we connected, we vibed. And
love at first sight.
When I came home, I was like, I want to be a broadcast journalist. And that's kind of where things took off. Yeah.
Yo, that's the greatest like introduction story ever to like a career. Couple things that she just breezed by in that, by the way, because like I'm listening, I'm like, okay, oh, that's a fact. Oh, that's great. Like, first and foremost, to be introduced to it so early in this way is dope.
Yeah. It's a blessing. A lot of people don't know what they want to do till college, like you said, or even later. You know?
Right. The fact that she just is like reference Ghost is just a relative. Like, you know, this guy, you might have seen him around, but we're gonna breeze past that. But the bigger thing that I like that you recognize and even embrace, and I don't know if you did it then or now, but you know, a lot of times with these creative industries, people in our families aren't really familiar with it. Like, I used to work at a music store, and one of the things is like when I would try to like sell them instruments and be like, no, get your kid a wooden clarinet. They're like, we don't need to do it.
That's what I played, the clarinet.
My research on point,
funny.
even if I didn't do it. But no, but like, yeah, like it's like they don't understand the value of that and where it can take a kid.
Definitely.
But if a kid wants some LeBrons to go play basketball, they're gonna go get them. So it goes to show, like, just culturally speaking, you know, it's kind of, I don't want to say raising your parents, but it's informing them as you learn too.
Oh my God, I literally did. I mean, from internships to just like diving in, I was teaching them along the way. And luckily I had some great mentors that would call my mom on the side and really explain to her who her child was and where she was headed. I mean, that helped. But like you said, I kind of had to force my parents into dabbling into these different spaces and places with me for them to really get it. And I'm so grateful to God that like everything is happening the way it is, because now I really feel like they get it. You know what I mean?
Sure. And again, that's it's kind of interesting, and we're gonna get back to your story, but it's like kind of the I guess conundrum this generation, our past generation, is on. Like, we're just now informing them of these new ventures because we're discovering them.
Yeah, and our industry is forever changing. You know what I mean? So what broadcast journalism was back then is not what it is now. Yeah. So always informing for sure.
See, I'm excited. If y'all can't tell, I'm at least happy to be here.
It's a vibe, y'all. When B's in the house, it turns immediately into a vibe.
1,000%. I mean, and I've been in multiple houses that she's set the vibe in. I'm like, oh, she's here. Yeah. She's present. And you know, so with that, you know, and I'm sorry to my audience, I did not get the footage of her at 6th, 7th grade looking at the camera. I really tried with y'all with my research.
I do got a picture somewhere. I'll have to post it
we going through
days.
Our Googles. But you know, so talk about like, so you knew when you were going into college what you wanted to do. Yeah. What major, like, how did you decide where you wanted to follow that kind of tug?
That's a great question. For me, I've always been the type to take the road less traveled. So I think for some, when it comes to journalism, where they're like, okay, I need to be a newspaper class, all this stuff, and I was not really thinking about that. I was thinking about basketball, track, boys, parties, and singing. Not really like journalism just yet. However, going into college, my first job. So I'm really a big believer, and kind of like what you said, Marcus, like understanding and knowing all facets of the industry. So the one thing that I knew I had down was the talent. And being in front of the camera. The other thing that I knew that I wanted to be great at was writing and like the behind the scenes stuff, especially as a journalist, especially as we talk about the industry changing. I think I really grew up in that kind of switch, because back in the day, journalists had people that wrote for them, or at least anchors, right? And like producers and all this stuff. And now we're in this world where you've kind of got to be a one-stop, you know, one-man band and do it all. So getting into writing was really important. I started at a local newspaper, humble beginnings. like a local, it was called the McLean Connection. And that's how I started in high school. And then going into college, first things first, I just experienced college, but at the same time, Twitter started bubbling. I was already on Facebook, and then Tumblr was becoming big. And so I was like, ooh, I should start a Tumblr and just start like, because I'm, entertainment news has always been the focus for me. And I was like, I just need to start, talking about everyday news and entertainment news. And like, I don't really care who sees this. I just want to do it for the point of perfecting my craft and like really perfecting the writing. And so that kind of, I actually called it a couple things: love, be, or hate me. This is so college. And then the next was like completely serious, but like not with the O, like so college, so Tumblr, right?
Hey,
and
I love the journey.
I started this, and I mean, it helped me, and it worked because that led into starting to write for different blogs, which led into internships, which kind of led into that. I can go down the line, but some of those blogs were Hip Hop Wired, for instance, Control Magazine, Global Grind, worked closely with them, and Blogzilla in particular. That led to my first internship with Radio 1. Sheila Stewart, rest in peace, was my mentor over there. I mean, literally guided me through all my 4 years, and that was the one that would call my mama all the time after I was waking up at 5 in the morning to drive to Lanham, because that's where WKYS was back in the day, and grind it with Russ Parr and Sheila, and I got my hands wet and dirty and was doing voiceovers and press releases and news writing and like all of that stuff. And then I believed that I needed to really try out different cities, especially where entertainment was. So then I went to New York, and then I went to LA, and then I came back to DC, and we can get into some of those other places I worked with later, but I was like, every summer I did not want to be home. So New York, I was at TMZ, MTV. Party foul. And then I went to California. That's where I worked for E! News, and then came back and finished up at SiriusXM, and then post-college is a whole different story.
Yeah, and I mean, and there's a few things that I want to, acknowledge in your journey, because I think for anyone, again, with this being the morning show for creatives, there's others who are aspiring to be in these spaces, to be kind of on that trajectory that you're on. And what I heard throughout your story, like when you talked about, the Twitter era, the Tumblr era, like that was like you creating proof of concept.
Literally.
You showing like, hey, like, all right, this blog isn't going to hire me from nothing.
Right.
I need to have kind of a resume. I need to kind of secure my back end. And you created that.
Yeah, and I think that's something that creatives should know. I think we're so caught up in our head about the perfection, and I think the biggest part of it is just doing it.
Yeah.
And even if it's not for the praise of the public, like when you apply to that job, I will say every place that I applied to, every person I talked to within this industry so far, getting up to this point, or at least in college, was very impressed that I had my own blog and that I was just doing that, you know what I mean? So it definitely does pay off for sure. So start that blog, start that YouTube channel, whatever you got to do, just do it.
Anything,
podcast,
like,
anything. Yeah, exactly.
And so, and all this isn't, you're not, you have this world of experience and you're hitting college, like you're getting into college. So like when you're finished, what did opportunity look like for you?
I think it's what every like post-college grad person says, which is like, you're not always going to get that dream job right after college. You're not always going to get a job right after college. And so what it looked like for me, in all honesty, was living my life all summer when I graduated.
Best life.
That was the first thing. And then starting to dial in. I mean, I applied to a lot of places everywhere, online and all that type of stuff. I have to say, and I'm going to speak about it all night, as you have on your shirt, but like, it literally is walking by faith and not by sight, right? Literally, God brought me my first job, which was at NBC4. I can't make it up of how it happened. What I was doing leading up to that point, going into that fall of graduating from 2013, was just, staying down and just perfecting my craft and learning about me as a person. When opportunities came, they came. I got a random opportunity with the Maryland Public Television to be a pledge host. That was amazing for me at that time, because it was like, oh my God, I get to be on TV, like legit on TV where people could see me. I can start practicing reading on a teleprompter. Just all that type of stuff finally hit. And then I was at a kidney ball event. And I met Veronica Johnson, who's now a meteorologist at Channel 7, used to be at 4, and I networked. And I met her, and a couple months later, I walked into those NBC4 doors. I was interviewed on the spot by the digital director over there, so that's the other thing. You know, like, always stay ready, always be working behind the scenes, because literally you never know when that opportunity is going to come. And I mean, that's what happened. Like, I was supposed to walk around this building just to get a tour and kind of meet people, and next thing I know, I'm getting interviewed on the spot about social media, about how I could help their platforms, about what I do and all this stuff. And then that led to an email of just a couple of asks from them, you know, to kind of officially apply or submit some things. Sure. And next thing I know, I had a 6-week temporary position at NBC4 that later turned into full-time, and being there for 5 years, running their social media, being on air, having my own blog on their channel and all that type of stuff. And even from there, it was humble beginnings. I had to wake up at 3 in the morning. That was my life for like 3.5+ years before I finally could move it up a little.
Like, all right, 6. Like,
that's
I'm
what
getting
it was.
there. Right.
Finally started at 6:30,
Right.
but for many years I was grinding from 4 a.m. to 1 p.m. working with the amazing team over there, building their channels, building their programs, and building myself.
And again, like, and please, I'm gonna do this throughout, because you share such an amazing story, and there's so much to take away from it that I don't want it to get lost for anyone who may not catch it right away. Because part of it was like, one, I love that you said, like, that summer you lived your life.
Yeah.
Like, people always feel like you have to be serious and dive into work and get into, like, you have to have an experience to be able to apply to the next stage in your life.
Literally.
Like, if you
No
don't
matter
experience,
what you do.
yeah, like, and that also comes into being ready, because
Because if not, you're going to have a midlife crisis.
I
That's
mean,
what happens, literally.
at 26, like, it's going to hit you real quick. But, you know, you got to find yourself in the space, because you took the time to not only embrace your life and who you wanted to be, but then you had the skill sets ready. So when you got back into the field, you weren't out the loop, because you were the loop in a minute.
Yeah.
Like, you were part of it.
Yeah.
But you were able to then bring it in, and you say, you know what? I know what this audience wants to be. I know what this world feels like. Like, oh, you want to get in touch with kids just graduating and turning up? Great. I'm that person.
so
I need to
true.
talk to you about it.
Yeah.
So, you know, it prepared you for those opportunities. And so, like, I look, and it's not going to be the best thing to see, but,
Aw.
you know, we got you here, because you, like, you know, you held down the block, and, you know, those out there are going to be able to see that you was really representing in the news in this space. But, you know, talk about, like, that moment, seeing yourself on camera.
Yeah, that was huge. That was another, like, faith moment. Once again, all I know is we went into a meeting about switching up the 11 a.m. show on NBC4. Next thing I know, because I was staying ready, because I was being social about just everything I was doing, they're like, oh, yeah, and we should have Brittany on to talk about what's trending in the D.C. area and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, like, super
Do
excited,
it.
but trying to be chill about it. Next thing I know, I didn't know when that was going to happen. It just happened one day. They were like, hey, Brittany, by the way, can we film you doing da-da-da-da-da, right? And I was like, so also another thing, another critical piece of advice out there is always to protect your brand. So I wasn't going to let the opportunity pass me by, but a girl wasn't makeup ready. Like, I was not about to introduce myself to the world with no makeup. So I said, okay, I'll do this, but can we do it like audio only and just cover it with B-roll? Because, you know, I didn't know, guys. Like,
Sure.
let me know. They rolled with it. They were like, great, let's do it. So then that led into, okay, you guys want to start doing this a lot? Yeah, we want to start testing it out weekly, da-da-da. So then that led into me being ready, being camera ready, you know, taking control of what I wanted to talk about and all that type of stuff, which led to being able to do stories. We can get into it into a second, but that's how I met Brandon and Daryl and Marcus from Broccoli City. Because, like you said, when the day I got on TV for NBC4, a big, you know, media platform in this area, I did not take that lightly. I did not take it lightly, the fact that I was a black woman, you know, being seen on this channel, that I was a black millennial woman who really could put our people on. And so it's been a dream come true. And it was such a dream come true to, you know, kick it off there, but a dream come true to be able to see all the doors it's opened me so far. And then, you know, just the humble things like my mom and dad being able to see me, my grandma being able to see me, you know, my siblings, all of that type of stuff. So a blessing. And again, stay ready, because it kind of came like that.
No, and that's the, you know, that's just the intersection of faith and work, right?
Yeah,
because
definitely.
it takes a great amount of your effort to meet faith at where it's supposed to be for that moment.
That manifestation.
And absolutely.
Yeah.
So, yo, I mean, I'm hyped because I know like even where the story goes next and how you continue to evolve. But like, so all right, you have this opportunity in the news and you just hit it. You talked about protecting your brand.
Yeah.
When did you realize that personally that you could be a brand? Because that was, I mean, we're talking 2014, 2015.
Yeah, 2014.
So,
right,
you know,
right.
personal branding wasn't as big as it is now.
And I think it's something that I'm still cultivating. And I think there's certain reasons why I haven't dropped certain things yet or like really put, you know, all of B out there yet. Because for one, it took a while to realize that Brittany is a brand beyond just who Brittany is. And number two, I think that when you're passionate about something that you really want to do, Rome was not built in a day. And so you really want to be able to just, you know, build that brand based off of the groundedness of who you are becoming and evolving into. I mean, that's just super important to me because a lot of these celebrities or influencers and all this stuff, like they may look good on the outside, but they're so lost, y'all, on the inside. They are struggling so much. Like they make it look so good, but I promise you behind closed doors, they're going through a lot of these people out here who 100%. Definitely take Instagram like it's, you know, do or die. Like this is like what I gotta be on at all times. Like no, be that person that's steadily working behind the scene, that's steadily making money and saving money so that they can invest in their own thing. You know what 100%. I mean? And so that's what it's looked like for me so far. But also building the Brittany Alexandra brand so far has also been about aligning myself with people, projects, or just anything that really is something that I'm passionate about and something that feels good and feels right for me. So I don't say yes to everything. Yeah. And I think that's one of the things, like you shouldn't say yes to everything. How are you going to protect your brand if you're just out here on every platform, every place, even if that platform, you know, represents something that's not what you believe in. So I think that's really important, is working and cultivating and being part of things that you believe in, for sure.
Yo, that is so key. And there's even, again, like, with what you just said, like I think about it this way, like, you know, there are still levels to your brand. Like your brand can be rebranded.
Yes.
Like don't feel like, oh, I have to have my polished version. Yeah. Like, you know, the final Coca-Cola logo wasn't what they started with.
Exactly.
You know, and it is knowing like, okay, I can take myself serious. These are my boundaries here. And if at any point in time that changes, you update them. You upgrade whatever space you're in, and you kind of keep it going. So like you, even now as you do that, like, it's almost like for creatives, you should never be done evolving. Like
that's true.
You know, it's like,
I mean, as people, we aren't. So
it's like our iPhones keep updating and they don't get any better, but they do things. You know, they come out with a new one every year. So why can't you? You know, and I think that's one of the things that I just admire about the brand that you built yourself is that, you know, you still are completely yourself. Like as that kid out of college, you were the one hit to social media. And now you're someone
but
that's
you're
like
still growing with me as I change as a person and evolve as a person, for sure.
No, 1,000%. So okay, so now we got NBC down. That's locked. You holding the block down.
Yeah.
You got your brand. Be on top. Were you on top back then? Were you be on top then?
So let's break it down like this. I can't remember when I changed my name because I definitely rebranded. I mean, you know, there's so many Brittany's out there, so I didn't want to like stay by that. But that's how I kind of started Brittany Alexandra. Be on top came about around the time that I started my blog at NBC, because when I thought about who I represent and what I want people to be inspired by and what I really, really want to push is being on top of yourself mentally, physically, and spiritually.
Oh, that's lit.
And so be my name and just like my focus, which is definitely being on top of those three pillars. I mean, it just like made sense. You know what I mean? And that's kind of how that brand blossomed. That was actually my blog name on NBC. And that was the purpose of that blog at the time, was sharing this inspirational content, this dope content, this like be in the know content, to everything from like 7 ways to have a less stressful day, to having people like write for it and everything. I mean, that is just something that I will continue to push forward. And that's really what that means. It's not just about me being on top, but like for everybody to be on top of themselves mentally, physically, and spiritually.
Yeah, I love that. And I love it because of the fact, like, there was I was at a local event and Alex Wolf was speaking, and she gave a good point of like, who are you at 3 a.m. when no one else is there? When it's just you and your thoughts. Who are you? Like, are you comfortable with yourself?
That's real.
And you know what you're saying, what you're speaking to, alludes to the idea of you do want to be on top of that mental standpoint, especially in a space where we're living in like this creative industry where you gotta constantly find yourself using your brain and exercising or your mental. Like,
exactly.
it's hard to shut it off. How do you shut it off?
There is actually a couple ways I shut it off for sure. After college, I really started getting like deep into yoga, like Bikram yoga, the whole nine. I did a lot of that before I had gotten my first job at NBC, and just like diving in. So that's one of the things, like stillness. Meditation is definitely key. Reading are some of the ways that I'll like shut things off, and just like kind of having like, you know, kind of like those kryptonite shows, those reality shows, whatever. However, that sounds all great, right? What I've really been practicing lately, like truly, y'all, there's two things I do. I like shut my phone down at like, no lie, like 9:15. I mean, it's a late night tonight. But I shut my phone down, like just don't even look at it, turn on the airplane mode and everything. So I shut that down, like, you know, an hour at least before going to bed, or on the weekend, I'll just shut it completely off. And I think by doing that, like, I don't know, like I don't miss my phone. Like I don't want to turn it back on. It feels so good to just like get away from the noise for a second, because social media, your emails and all that, it's noise. And if you don't find a second in your day, truly in your day, like you can find 5 minutes in your day to just be in silence, like you'll never really be able to push forward into being your best self for sure. So those are some of the ways that I like, you know, on a regular basis will clear my mind. And I think the number two things is definitely meditation, shutting my phone off, and just, you know, physical activity. I think that's like also, people think like you always have to sit and be quiet, which is great. You should do that, you know, tell Alexa to play a 5-minute meditation. But even just working out, like that's your daily meditation too, your daily ritual and all that. When you're working out, like don't look at your phone. Like you gave yourself these 30 minutes or whatever, like honor yourself. You know what I mean? Honor your body. Honor, that's truly self-love. Like not being able, like you hate yourself if you're on Peloton and looking at your phone at the same time. Like really?
I mean,
really?
Valid.
Right?
It's very true. Especially because Beyonce just dropped on the Peloton too.
Oh my God, it's lit. I can't wait to take the class.
I gotta get to that level.
But that stillness is key. I'm actually reading a book right now called that Stillness is Key, or Stillness is the Key.
Sure. Now, so we got the blog is popping, the network's popping. Talk about getting in the space of actually hosting, and because that's a different avenue, that's a different approach. It can be tough.
Yeah.
So like, how did you get into that space?
I think being in front of the camera made it a lot easier.
Sure.
I think being prepared also makes it better. The one thing though, I think it comes down to trusting yourself. And the one thing that I do know how to do is to hold conversations and to have conversations. And the more I stopped thinking about it, the easier it came. Like, you didn't hear it from me, but like I prepare, but I also don't prepare at the same time at sometimes, because I kind of just want to be able to go out there and be myself. I'll prepare in the sense of like looking at the notes, looking at the rundown, whatever, but I don't think too deep into it, because I kind of want to like just simmer on those ideas and be able to really be my authentic self and figure out like what is Brittany going to bring to help elevate those messages further? How am I going to create and cultivate conversations that leave people not only wanting more but inspired by it, versus just like a who are you, where are you from, what did you do, etc. I think the other thing that's been like a learning process for me, two things. You know, when you're hosting, or not even hosting, but you're speaking and people are just talking. I think the one way to really command the room, two things, is to either be silent for a second, and then you'll notice everybody else shuts up. Because you know, it's so, okay, be quiet. Like nobody actually does it. Or you just start talking and people will finally be quiet. So that was like one thing that I like learned through practice with hosting. But I do think that, you know, not everybody is meant to be a host. And I do think that social media makes everybody feel that they can do it, but it really is a talent. You know what I mean? Like, you know, I really was like on stage all the time growing up, having solos or dancing or singing or like all this things. So like I was prepped on the stage for a long time. Like those nerves all like were happening growing up. But then by the time I was post-college, like they weren't there anymore, because I was so confident in myself to be on that stage and to know that I'm meant to be on that stage. You know, a lot of people are going to hate and feel like, why does she get it? Da-da-da-da-da. And then you're out there and you're like, so this is why, y'all. You know what I mean? Like, this is why.
Like the Will Smith, like, ta-da meme. Yeah,
literally,
1,000%.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's not easy. And I think also practice, you know, continues to perfect your craft. So your first hosting gig may not be, you know, the best starting out, but as you keep doing them, as you keep just manifesting or being open to those opportunities and possibilities and believe in yourself, the better you'll get, you know?
And I think with that, it's like, you know, knowing yourself, right? Like the Drake line, know yourself, know your worth, is like the key, because, you know, for someone like you just said, you can have a conversation with someone, and it also makes it more organic. Like you, even when we were prepping tonight, I was like, you know, getting to know you, I was like, wait, I don't want to ask you that till I'm on the camera, because I want to genuinely react to some things that I learn and know about. And I think, you know, that's just kind of where I think this space is going just in general. Like, you know, when you look at content, there's more personality, more character, more wholesomeness, but it's requiring a little bit more of the people who do decide to step up.
That's so true. I think people are tired of the fakes and the facade out there for sure. And you definitely see like a lot of these influencers or whatever that did all this stuff are kind of like, you know, getting back. That's the other thing. Stay in your lane. You know what I mean? Like, the lanes are not meant to cross and crisscross all the time. You know what I mean? If you stay in your lane and, you know, hit that finish line, that first lane, then you can go into the next race. You know
and that's actually one of my question to you is like, you know, how have you found your lane? Because you started music, we did clarinet. You know, you're not performing. I'm about to say you're not performing with Squidward now with the clarinet, but you're still out here. Like, you know, you've been evolving, but you've been creating still. So talk about evolving with it.
Yeah. So, you know, it's been such a blessing in disguise in the sense of every job that I've had so far, I've been able to literally create. It was a job that was not there before I got there.
I love that.
So being, you know, within social media, NBC, again, talk about that switch. Like, they didn't know that social media would be what it is today, and they didn't know that they needed somebody like me to really take their channels to that next level.
Sure.
And by, you know, having a position that wasn't created, then I was able to create more out of that. I was able to be like, okay, so I do this one thing. This is what you also should know about Brittany, which is she can do this, that, and the third. And I think that's the other key. Like, never be afraid. And my mom always felt the opposite because she's a doctor or whatever. And you're like, you don't know. But I was like, Mom, I'm not going to not tell my boss what I ultimately want to do. 100%. Because who knows how my boss could help put me on that pedestal to get there. And I think the other thing is, like, stay loyal and stay down. Just because I want to do X doesn't mean that I am going to not fulfill my everyday duties. You know what I mean? If you're really passionate about what you want to do, then you will make time for it. I mean, I literally was at the office until I came over here. Like, you know, because this is something that I want to do, that I'm passionate about doing. And it's also something that, you know, my company supports because they know that this is what I do. And when you don't tell people that, then they're kind of looking at you like, who, what, when, where, why. But if you have those authentic conversations up front, I mean, you should really go into these jobs and talk to your boss and really look at them as mentors, you know what I mean? And that is what can lead to one door to the next for sure. And so I've been blessed by being honest about who I am and myself to be able to create these opportunities and these careers that I have so far.
That's so good, because it almost like when you can't do that, it's almost like you're cheating on your job. Like, you feel like you gotta sneak around and you gotta be low. But when you can actually, like, you know, go to this workspace, because again, you might bring up something, you might discover your supervisor had a dream to be an artist one day, so they're all for it. They're like take
hey,
the weekend.
I got money,
right?
I got a recorded studio. Let's figure something out on the side. Like, I don't know.
My previous job before this one was like, or before like quitting and taking this leap of faith into this creative world, was like working at the Capitol, and they knew I wanted to do music. They came to my shows. Like, it was a space where it's like, when you're actually fully honest, they still follow me. Shout outs to y'all. We out here in these streets. But, you know, when you are yourself in those spaces, it allows for opportunity to come from any direction.
Exactly.
And I think
and
that's how
you never
it
know
works.
when, but, you know, you surrender and let it take care of the rest, and they come for sure.
So you even alluded to the Broccoli City connection coming from that. So next fit, we evolving.
Yeah,
you gonna need Broccoli City.
So, this is like 2014, and I got hip to the festival, and I wanted to do a story basically on the festival, and I can't remember how we connected.
And I don't know if this is 2014 one, but this is
that's a little bit later.
Look, all right, this is when you was like in there.
Okay.
All right, but it's the same game.
The one with the curls down, and I'm all like, no. Yeah, there's so many. Also, as we talk about rebranding, I'm definitely the type to like delete pictures after a while. Like, I don't know, I just am.
We discovered that in the research process. We discovered that. Just, she doesn't exist before 2018. She's not a person,
They're all on my Facebook page, okay? If you really want to check it out. But Instagram's so different nowadays. Like, you kind of want to keep your feed clean, and just keep evolving with those photos. However, I met them. I did a story on them. Opportunity met itself. They were growing. They didn't have somebody that was necessarily a social correspondent or giving their fans a behind-the-scenes look at these artists getting ready or just all that the festival had to offer. And that's what led into working with them. But the real reason why it led into working with them is because, like, again, their mission aligned with everything that I was interested in. Health, wellness, giving back to lower-income communities, music, fire artists, good food, good healthy food. It literally encompassed everything, a lot of who B is. I wasn't focused on being on the stage or being in the limelight. I was focused on building relationships with the people who have built Broccoli City, and that's what led from one thing to the next. The other thing is, like, it didn't come to me. I made it happen. Like, I, was actively making sure that, I was adding value where I could add value because I really believed in what they were doing. And that led to doing the, taking over the IG, to then being able to host the conference and to moderate and have these panels, which led into Broccoli Talk and being able, when we opened up Broccoli Bar, to be able to have those weekly conversations with creatives or entrepreneurs and all that stuff, which led into a late night call, a couple hours before the festival, like, hey, we need you to host this festival tomorrow. Can you do it? And I was ready. You know what I mean? And that was something that I always knew that I could do, going to do, and it was going to happen, and it did. And then, COVID happened this year, and so we'll be back in May 2021. But it really started off with humble beginnings, just learning about their story, their journey, putting one for them. Also, it wasn't about me. Like, I was trying to figure out how NBC can align with them. We started a garden together called Rooted in the Community in the lower income area of DC. Like, I had a millennial-based election panel that I had, like, Daryl and certain people, and I had them on our shows. I remember when I had my girl from Turning Natural, who was one of the speakers at the conference, to come on and talk about the juicing, and now she is lit. Got, like, 7 locations, in this area.
In these streets.
Literally love them so much. And, that's what's so special. It's the journey. Like, it's not about the destination. It's the fact that I knew and know so many people who have started from the bottom, now here, or who are still growing and going, and we're following each other and we're growing together. And, the rest is history. But that's kind of how it started, was just humble beginnings, wanting to do a story on them.
Yeah, and again, like, look to the camera. Creative moment. But no, it's that one, finding a way to add value on the rise with people, right? Like, everyone's
Seeing
like
that
foresight is key, because of course there's a lot of people doing a lot of things,
right.
But when you see that there's someone who's in alignment, like, you literally had your checklist of food, entertainment, community, like,
it was like, if you don't have me part of your team, like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I might as well start my own Broccoli City. No.
Oh my gosh, you guys don't like
Brittany, me. Like everything aligned. Like, it just.
Brittany City, Broccoli City, it just
shout out
blends.
to my boy Jermon too, because he was really the one that believed in me. We linked first, and that's what led into him introducing to me to the rest of the crew. But yeah, I was like, what? Like, guys, this is me.
So let's talk about that discernment, right?
Yeah.
Because I think that was the thing that makes something like this different. Because I'm sure everyone's like, great, I got linked with someone that's not Lee City. Like, they didn't make it that far. But, talk about figuring out, like, hey, even if, like, because you took the approach of, no matter what, I'm covering this story. Yeah. I want to do this with you guys, but let me show this first. But, like, how did you know that was who you wanted to present that to? Like, was it just nah, by all means, I like what they got going on around? Or was it like,
no, it was
internally?
like how can I help you?
Sure.
You know what I mean? That's really what it was. It was like, this is dope. The story's going to be dope, but how can we work together to push things further? Like, what can I do to help you? And that's what led to that conversation of like, well, the one thing that we don't have is X, or, we could use more help in this space. And I think that's like the key is like, never stop asking questions and never be afraid to put yourself out there and ask a question that would mutually beneficial both benefit both people. I think that's the other thing people always ask, like, how do you network? How do you meet these people? And it's like, first of all, it's about building relationships. Like, if Broccoli City was gone tomorrow, Daryl, Marcus, and B, and Jermon, and the rest of the crew are still my people. Like, I'm not going to leave them or, like, never check in on them just because it's gone. You know what I mean? And that's what it's built off is relationships. And then with relationships, you should always be thinking about, number one, how can I help that person? How can this be mutually beneficial? But also, like, if I were to never get paid for this, am I okay with that? Like, is this something that I'm passionate about, or is this something that I just want to do because I want to be on their Instagram or I want to be known or et cetera? And for me, it was something that I was passionate about. It was never about X, you know what I mean? And I think that's really the biggest key, guys, is, like, don't be so self-serving that you forget about the purpose of life, which is connecting and creating relationships. Like we're all happy and healthier because of the relationships that we have in our lives, and that's what life's really all about, you know?
Yeah, see, like that's like the mic drop, but we're not gonna drop these. But no, and so with that, you started this with them, you know, and then again you started to spread the city. Like, one of my first times actually seeing you host was the National Publicist Day. Last year, like, actually you was there, like, you know, set it down, yeah, and you actually used your technique of the silence in the room it worked.
Really?
I saw it. I was like, I guess I'll be quiet, like, it worked, it works. But, you know, like,
that was a great event.
It was. Shout out to Keisha Mariah, the PR Alliance.
I know.
We'll hurt. You know, I mean, let's actually just go there. Like, how have you pivoted in this pandemic or this time?
I feel blessed for a number of reasons, that I'm healthy, alive, my family's good. Took, you know, social distancing, and still do, as he could tell, very seriously, and was really in the house for like 5 months because I'm blessed to have great leaders at Podville Media and the company I work for, which we'll get into later. And, you know, not only did they foresee this, not only did they want to take care of us and make sure that we were healthy and okay and going to be safe and just keeping an eye on the news, but then we were also, as a team, because we're such a great team, able to quickly adapt and really be creative of how to pull this off at home. And luckily, it wasn't as hard as I think maybe a lot of people in this space really thought. We just had to do it. Like, you know, we had no choice but to throw ourselves into it because the city went on lockdown. And at that point, you have no choice. Sure. So what do? You turn to Zoom. You know, as long as people have computers with all the right applications on it, Adobe, Final Cut, whatever, you can edit at home. You know, capturing, you can capture via Zoom. You know, a lot of these studios then and now are still in like skeleton staff or like limited standpoint where some people can actually come back into the studio, which is great. And that's how we've been able to pivot, is to, you know, head down, you know, get through this storm, and then also just be able to adjust and quickly work together to find ways to still get those projects out for sure. And so I've been lucky that we've been able to really pivot nicely during that time, and now are transitioning back into a new normal for sure. And then when it comes to TV and still being able to, you know, make appearances on Fox and so forth, Zoom, you know what I mean? I've been lucky to, it just took a couple of investments in Amazon to get the right mic or to get this or to get that. Right. And then boom, you've got your set, you know what I mean? And it's all about where you spend your money. Like, if this is important to you, then you'll spend the money on the tools, because these mics, these cameras were always out there. We just didn't know how much we needed them until now, you know?
1000%.
But it sucks. Like, I was so used to like hosting and being around people and turning up and the festival and eating out and all that. So I'm definitely like crying inside a little bit, but I'm also thankful for this time of stillness to kind of rebalance my life, because it's been so go for so many years. It feels good to kind of relax.
And we could talk a minute about the festivals and turn-ups, because we got you out here. But no, talk about like your actual job. So like, what is this podcast like you were talking about, and space that you're in?
Yeah. So I think the best way to start this conversation is to take it back to NBC. I sat next to a woman named Angie Goff, who's like one of my BFFs. Angie is one of the main anchors at Fox 5 now, but she used to be an anchor at NBC4. And I mean, we used to cut the F up and just have so much fun being on social, I mean, we were just like freaking frack.
I mean,
literally.
is this like the look of the cut up? Like, is this is the cut up team? Like, this is team cut up right here.
Team cut up for sure.
Team cut up.
That wasn't during the NBC
Yeah.
days, but I got plenty of those to go around. We are the 2 Live crew. Like, she is a wife, a mom of 3. So lit, got energy like a 21-year-old, and
Yeah.
I'm like the auntie that's like out here single, living her best life.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna play the clip when you called her out for her
Oh my God.
her party. You know. Yeah, we got, like I said, we'll get it up for you guys. So there we go. We'll get it up for you guys right now. You know, just to show you calling her out.
Oh my gosh, hilarious. Okay, so we're Fox 5, Good Day DC.
Yeah.
Talking about the Real Housewives of Atlanta, the upcoming season, how some of these girls had a whole threesome on the Bachelorette trip. I mean, it was crazy. But we're always cutting up, whether it's on the show or on TV.
Now, this is a perfect, like, I love that example, because then she was like, yeah, a lot of things happen down there, and Nicole's like, excuse me, what?
Right,
Like, my
right.
bachelor party was out there.
Yeah, I was like, girl, you lucky didn't have social media back then.
Right, and
But-
she's like, or cameras, like, it's so much happened.
So that's just
Yeah.
our personality. I mean, we were just like super close. Had the idea when we were at NBC together to start our own show. It didn't happen for the purpose of why, of where we are today, and that's just divine timing. So Angie was in a career transition herself and was on a podcast, the Hey Phrase Show. Hey, Sarah. Hey, Andrea. That was filmed at Podcast Village. Podcast Village is a multimedia, top-tier production podcast company located in DC, located in Glover Park, also in DuPont. We are rebranding and changing our name to Podville Media, so breaking news. However, when she visited, she was like, I found a place that I want to shoot the show, and I want you to co-host it and be part of it. Like, you got to come check it out. So she took me to Podcast Village, and I learned more about what they were doing, what they were building, and they were foreseeing the future. They were creating content that was top-notch audio content and video, because they knew whether or not clients at the time wanted to be on camera, that this is the direction that a lot of people are going to go in, whether they're used to being in front of the camera or not. They've built these studios, control rooms that feel like you're in a modern-day TV news production set, and we were sold. And, we started building the Oh My Gosh show, and that led into learning more about who Podcast Village is, and the team and how they were growing. This was built by 2 amazing men, Charlie Burney and Oscar Zabayos, who both come from similar fields yet different. Charlie's been in podcasting. He actually started the company as a WeWorking podcasting space out in Gaithersburg, and then just like the stars align. Oscar's been a broadcaster and radio for many years on the Michael Mara show and all of that good stuff. He was, working on getting his MBA at UMD, and they just kind of aligned and started to build this company that's been a game changer. And through learning about the expansion of what they're doing, the team, the opportunity presented itself to join the team. Wow. And I was feeling that angst of, being in a shell and really being ready to break out. Past NBC, I had been there for 5 years, and I felt like, okay, it's served its purpose, and even if it's uncomfortable, I've got to keep growing. And literally the opportunity came, and I didn't think twice. I'm a senior executive producer at Podville Media, so I oversee all of our clients. We're a one-stop shop. You come into our studios, you record just, like this in our studios. We take care of the editing, social media assets, transcripts, like the whole 9 on the back end, whether you're an audio show or an audio and video show. Me and Angie built a product that we're so proud of. We record weekly. You can check us out on Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen, or watch us on YouTube. Through her work at Fox 5, and this is why this company is so key. We're building content that our clients own. We're building content that TV, media, news outlets, channels, or whatever want to put on their networks, and that's how you can get that deal, which for me is a goal of being able to get your show bought one day, to be able to get that spot on ABC or Fox or it's Showtime, whatever. That's what we're building, and that's what me and Angie have started. That's what we're continuing to do, and we're grateful that Fox loves the show, and they're always showing it on TV and all that stuff. That's what led to the next opportunity of me being on Fox a lot and doing shows with Angie that are outside of our show, and we've been going ever since. So that's been almost 2 years. I left NBC in May of 2019, and I've been at Podville Media ever since.
Wow. I mean, so if you guys didn't get the pitch, that was it. You know, and so honestly, for content creators, that sounds like a great place to start.
It's a great place.
How is it a process for like someone
Yeah,
and presenting ideas?
that's a great question. So it's a great place to start. It's also a great place to, once you potentially want to get your feet wet first and then come to a evolve kind of next level, have that team come to us. What we do, no matter what, as we talk about starting, is we, develop, produce, and distribute. So we have a whole show development process that all of our clients go through with us before they even launch their podcast. We're recording, we're talking about best practices, like logistics are getting lined up. Oh, mind you, like you can record with us no matter where you are in the world through our technology. So that's dope. And then we produce the shows, of course, and then we deal with the distribution. We publish the podcast on the major podcast platforms. We give the certain assets and everything that our clients need to be able to post it on their platforms. And I'll throw it out there. Some of our clients are, ESPN The Undefeated, the Leadership Conference on Civil and Human Rights. They've got a great podcast called Pod for the Cause. We've worked with Santana Moss. He's got a great show/podcast called The Santana Moss Show. All the way to presidential families, the Bush family. They have 2 podcasts that we produce with them called All the Best, which is a podcast hosted by George H.W.'s grandson, celebrating the life and legacy of his grandparents, and then Health Gig, which Doro Bush and Trisha Riley Cook host, and it's like all things co-mindfulness is what we call it, and just like all good vibes and just things that you would never know, like how you should, as soon as you wake up, go outside and sit in the sun for like 5 minutes because it turns off your melatonin, to like, drinking, a glass of water before bed, or like if you have a glass of wine, drink a glass of water right after, like working out 4 hours before you're actually, like all of this stuff, they deal with like the top medical and health experts. It's amazing. The Lincoln Project, they're a big client of ours as well that we work with, who really helped bring us home with this 2020 election. So, grateful for them. And the list goes on. You can check us out right now on podcastvillage.com. Donnie Simpson is another client. Just got inducted into the Radio Hall of Fame. His podcast will be coming out soon. So we're blessed. And if you guys are interested, you can reach out to me, Brittany at podcastvillage.com. And I handle all of our inquiry calls. And I'm happy to share more about what we do and what it's like to work with us.
So, again, for those who've watched this, but for me, like, just given this career that you had that started at the 6th grade, take your daughter to work day. What has been the moment for you that really resonated and like been like, I've arrived, like based on this moment, this work that I've done, like do you feel that you've hit that yet?
I do and I don't, because there's so much more that I want to do. Like we haven't even touched the Brittany show yet, so I can't wait till I can introduce that to the world one day. And it's just, for me, it's a method and mythology that like everything happens in divine timing, and I don't believe in rushing. But I do, in the sense of the day that I started at NBC and the day that I got on TV at NBC was like, oh my God, like Sheila is exactly right. Like, I'm universal. I'll never forget when she said that. I was working at E! News, and NBC Universal is a name, and I was like, oh my God, I love Callie, and I love E! News. And like all this stuff, and she's like, that's because you're universal. Like, you appeal to all different races and demographics. Like, yes, at one point I grew up being made fun of because I was the black girl that talked like a white girl, or like all of this type of stuff. Yet now, all of those things that certain people didn't understand about me make a lot more sense. And I think, with NBC, that's a proud moment. Launching me and Angie's show is a super proud moment. I mean, it's like beyond my wildest dreams to be able to do that with such a legendary news anchor. But, the best, I believe, is definitely yet to come. And I'm so excited about that. Like, I know that if this is what I've been able to accomplish so far in my 29 years of life, can't imagine, what the future has to hold, for sure.
And I can't wait to witness, like, just to continue to watch what you're doing and how you're growing. Mm-hmm. And for anyone who comes on this show, there's like one question that I always care to ask. And we're going to ask that, and then I would love to hear any other platforms you would like to just let the people know about. But for you, what does legacy mean to you?
It's a great question. It's something that, like, is huge for me. Legacy means that, you know, when I'm gone, my name will continue to live on. And by that, it doesn't matter what you do, it's about how you do it and the impact that you're making. And to me, like, that's legacy. No matter what your profession is, if your name continues to live on, like, I would love to see like a school one day name their journalism school after me or whatever it may be. Like, just that legacy and that impression of your name, like, that's legacy, because when people are talking about you after you're gone, you know you did something right, and you know you've built a legacy that nobody can ever forget.
That's fire. So with that said, where can they follow you? How can we support you and continue to push you in your legacy?
I love it. You can follow me on Instagram at b.on.top. That's like period, so letter B, period, on.
Don't type
top.
Out dot. We get it.
Yeah, you know. Try to make it easy.
Right.
I thought about that a lot when I made the name, but I was like, screw it. Like, this looks the best, so I'll just figure out a way to make it really simple for people to follow me. And you can follow the Oh My Goff Show. So follow me on Instagram. That's where I'm most active right now. You can follow the Oh My Goff, Goff, on Apple, YouTube. She's at Oh My Goff on Instagram, so you'll see us a lot. And then make sure you're watching Fox 5. Make sure you're following at Podcast Village as well to keep up with us. And yeah, until next time.
Look, I can't thank you enough for coming onto the show.
Marcus.
I appreciate you tremendously.
Of course.
So what we gonna do is, because I know everybody been waiting for this video, we gonna go to Young Shan's video, then we gonna come back and close out. But with that said, here's the better video.
From Detroit to West Side.
Take me back to the things that we had. Made me forget about the things that went bad. You got me built up in emotions. Don't know where we going. I hope it's not too late for you to switch. Life would be much better if you loved me the way I loved you. Life would be much better if you fucked me the way I fucked you. Life would be much better if I can call you. Life would be much better if I fall for you. I should've known better, but that don't make it better, babe. I should've known better, but that don't make it better, babe. I should've known better, but that don't make it better, babe. I should've known better, but that don't make it better, babe. Was I not good enough to give you what you please? Did I not cater to your wants and all your needs? Tell me, is this deja vu? Hurting, but I play it cool. Beating myself up inside, hate when I make space for you. And it's crazy, looking for your love on a daily. This type of shit don't faze me. Just look at how you made me. Looking at you like a lesson. My love you couldn't question, 'cause I've been down like 10 toes. Life would be much better if you loved me the way I loved you. Life would be much better if you fucked me the way I fucked you. Life would be much better if I can call you. Life would be much better if I fall for you. I should've known better, but that don't make it better, babe. I should've known better, but that don't make it better, babe. I should've known better, but that don't make it better, babe. I should've known better, but that don't make it better, babe. But wasn't I good enough to give you what you please, babe?
Say good morning, creators. Alright, so once again, that's the Young Shan's Better video, fire video. She's a talented artist. In fact, I just saw her on Pusha T's like playlist for the next month. Like she's on track too with that record.
She's
so
lit.
She out here. So, you know, congrats to her and just nothing but the best. But again, thank you so much. Any parting words to creators before we get off here?
Never stop dreaming and never stop creating.
So with that said, good morning, creators. Stay cooking.